Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, yes, you're very welcome. Yes, I thought that might,
Yeah, it's great.
yeah,
I came in.
I didn't know it was such a damn big job this time.
Takes a while to be honest.
No, it's fine. You just got to stay focused. Yeah. Did Karen tell you how many adding errors I found, mistakes?
I told you were adding stuff up. I said, I don't do that.
Yeah,
I take a quick look.
audit is audit.
She took it
Take
seriously.
a quick look, but I
So
never.
you guys are all good when you're ready.
$10. I thought that was good. We got a second. Okay. 3 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You bring me to. So if you just want to stand for a moment, we're just going to have a moment of silence for two longtime members of our fire department who have recently passed, one 2 or 3 weeks ago and one just recently the other day, Keith Brignall and Pat Driscoll. Thank you. Any changes, additions, additions of the agenda? The only thing I have under the fire department is we do have the contract to sign with the town for our budget, fire budgets. So I will be asking for permission to sign that at the end of the fire department discussion. Okay, our meeting minutes from September 23rd.
Move to accept it, submitted and amended.
Seconded by Trustee Casey. Any other discussion? All in favor? Abstract number 7 dated today in the amount of $183,836.71. Audited by Trustee Reich.
So moved.
Second, okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Next, we have our departments, so we'll begin with the TTW.
So the first item is purchases that are needed or have been needed.
There needed.
Okay, so we need to purchase, there's gonna be a pre and post season inspection of the annual drying machine. And we need to spend $2,475 for that. So we need a motion for that expense. So I'll make that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, the next item is, has to do with bridge and light repairs. We need, there's an expense of $9,100 from Emerald Electrical to do the work.
So these are quotes that we got.
Okay.
So the bottom 2 bridge lights going down the bridge on the right hand side have been out for a few years. So the Emerald is one quote and Patricia is the second quote. We also reached out to O'Connell, but weren't successful in getting a third option. I would go with the Patricia quote because it's almost $4,000 less.
Is there any suggestion that you would between 2 quotes?
No.
You
In
understand what I
terms of,
mean?
Yeah.
in terms of work.
Yeah, so it's the same work. We're gonna dig. We'll do all the prep work, dig. National Grid will come in, shut the power off. Whoever gets the quote will do the hookup. They're also gonna replace the lights underneath the bridge at the same time. So those will be repaired. And then once it's all done, they'll hook it back up. Call National Grid for inspection. It should be good to go.
Okay.
Those under the bridge, those lights are not the state, they're ours.
They're ours.
It's a state bridge.
Yeah.
They just don't want them safe, huh?
And
So we gotta put those. I thought they always up there. I know a couple times they got damaged and we took it out.
But the street underneath, is that a local, Mill Street?
Mill Street.
Locally owned, and that may be why those lights are ours, or streets.
So this is for the walkway,
this is for the walkway under the bridge, like that parking lot.
I
the
know.
other side of limestone.
But then, my point is the same, it's our property
Yeah.
underneath. So that's why it's those are our lights.
And
The
they'll put
lights-
in aluminum flashing over the top to help shield some of the salt from falling down. So it's just a never ending issue with that.
That's been a problem,
Yeah.
and it's also been a problem not to have lights there, for concerns for the people that live in that area. Okay, so motion to hire Patricia Electric for those light repairs.
So moved.
A second.
Moved and seconded, any other discussion, all in favor?
Hi.
So the third item is the senior center cottage electrical.
Yep.
We have two quotes there, you can see that, one is Emerald Electrical for 5,200.
The other one is Patricia as well, Final comment, sorry.
Oh, misprint,
Yep.
so we'll change that, it's Patricia submitted.
Yep.
At $4,395. And this is to make sure that the cottage is, fully outfitted with the electrical, as an electrical resource, and is this going to include burying the wire to the cottage?
Yep.
Okay, which is great. So it'll clean up some of the electrical jumble of wires between the cottage and the barn.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions about these two proposals?
So it's interior and exterior lighting or electrical, I'm sorry.
So all they're gonna do is run conduit from the barn to the cottage and then install the panel, the 120 amp. And then we will in-house run all the lighting and all that stuff once it's in, but to do the running the conduit, installing the new boxes,
And
preferable for an electrician.
putting the electrical service in is what
Yeah.
they're being paid to do.
Yep.
So motion to hire Patricia.
I move to hire Patricia at $4,395.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
So moving on to current projects that are happening around the village, we have several. Green Street, one at 412 Spring Street, one at 314 East Josie. And then others are at 309 Spring Street, 204 Orchard Street, 412 Orchard Street, 400 South Van Street will be done. Those are next in line to get it done. I don't know about you, other members of the board, but I've definitely seen many of these particular sidewalks that are currently under repair, and as such, you started to need to be repaired. So, are those the when you're done with the 1, 2, 3, 4? Is that, will there be more after that, or are we gonna wait until that?
Depends on the weather.
Okay.
If we get some good weather in November, we might be able to sneak in a few more smaller sections.
Okay.
But if not, we have a huge list for next summer.
For the
So,
spring and
yeah.
summer, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so then next project that's ongoing are some catch basin repairs, specifically at 113 Redfield. Where that's done, that repair has been made, okay. With respect to trees, all trees cut by DPW and Bartlett had their stumps ground out. It's good. Is that a question put by somebody, or is it just
No, just
general?
yeah, in case someone gets asked.
Okay,
We've been around, and then there's 3 more left on the list that we're just waiting for the dig safes to clear, and then those will.
What was wrong with the catch basin?
The riser was crumbling in one section, so it was
So it's
eroding the road, and yeah, we repoured the riser, put the grates back on.
You're still room for the water, it's not falling away from it.
Yep.
the pruning effort has been completed, and they pruned trees that had branches hanging over sidewalks and around street signs. I have a general question there. There's some properties where the sidewalk is right up against some trees that are planted by the homeowner.
Mhm.
And so I'm actually guilty as a homeowner, and I try to stay on top of it, but
Yep.
sometimes it gets away from me. So, is it possible for us as a village to maybe send a gentle reminder? To some of these homeowners, especially when it's really pushing people off the sidewalk?
Yeah, we can. Typically, if it's like innate hazard, like if someone's gonna walk into a tree branch, we'll just take care of it. Or like if the sidewalk plow's gonna hit it and damage it, we usually try to get ahead of it so that you don't have a ripped off limb and it looks a little bit better than that. But certainly, like if someone's got bushes that overgrow into the
Right.
sidewalk,
Right,
yeah, it's definitely
Vines.
something to look at, yeah.
I think, I know of a few myself I can alert you to. I don't know that it's necessarily a hazard, but I also wonder if. As a homeowner, I know that sometimes it gets away from me and then
Yep.
I have to get back out there and take care of it, but make sure the sidewalk is clear. And so it makes me wonder, maybe some other people are just not having the resources to get to it. I
Yeah,
don't know if we can maybe help them out.
there's definitely a few more on that side of town, where people plant hedgerows and
Right.
all this, especially like a burning bush or something that's way overgrow. I trim mine by the way.
Nice job.
Thank you. But like some of those get away from people quickly, so typically we don't try to touch bushes, just if, you know, we come in and cut 5 feet of it and it looks really bad, so I'm gonna try to stay away from the bushes, but if it's a tree, try to trim up some of the low hanging branches.
All right. With respect to parks, leaf pickup in the parks has begun, which means that we have a couple of weeks and then leaf pickup only, and then we'll start with the private properties. Fountains have been removed from there and Veterans Park. We're set for winter cleaning and storage. Bulk items were picked up on 10:09 and Paul to Rock Cut. Kitchen compost was picked up on 10:04. Radar sign was moved to South Springs headed west by Bishop's Brook. Annual safety training was completed by DPW on 10/7. And special pickup, which means the leaf pickup will start in, it will be solely in November, right?
Yep. We've started, both the pickers are out. One is currently out on the road, right now, but it's still picking up brush and getting through that first and then sending the picker out around after it, so. If a leaf pile is left on brush, it's because the picker is out and we'll pick up the leaves.
So also everyone who's here and who's listening, brush, the last pickup is gonna be on the end of October, 10/28. So it's best to not wait till November to clean that garden or trim those bushes. Because then you can't get to it until December and it can get pretty cold then, so. Property owners beware.
And if we get a bad storm like we did last year, we will go out and pick up the storm damage and at least get a brush.
Because you're busy you're picking up leaves, it's not like you're not caring for everyone's property, but there are so many leaves. In the community that we-
And Bobby, just to clarify also, did I see correctly, compost and bulk will be picked
Yeah,
up in
so,
November, right?
I was gonna pose a question to the board, seeing as how food compost and bulk are technically tied in with our trash and refuse program. It's our recommendation, and Karen's too, who answers all the phone calls, that we continue to pick up bulk and food scraps in November.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We have a.
We had
holiday-
115 bulk pickups last month, so I don't wanna get slammed with 350 in December.
Right.
So I'd rather continue that and still not pick up hard fill or construction debris, because we tend to not have a ton of that towards that time of year, but the bulk and the food scraps would be not great to let go for a month. So
No, I agree.
Thank you.
So we did
And
have,
there's a question.
I was gonna bring that up. right now, what's the situation? Before we used to have 6 people on the trucks, right, picking up trash.
Yep.
Recycle.
Yep.
6,
Mhm.
and now we're down to 2.
Yep.
So I was gonna bring that up about those other things. I agree with you about the bulk and can't be like that. I'm gonna meet with you and Jane. You know, whatever. But I think we should think about. I understand. We actually. The added people that we have, like technically, we don't have any. But
Right.
we have extra that aren't. So that would mean that either we're not gonna pick that up, okay, that's fine. So that would cut down on the amount of overtime we've had in the past weeks.
Yep.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of taking that. Okay, I'll go with the overtime. Okay, I'll go with that part, yeah. If I, if I get a lot of phone calls about the other stuff, I'll let you know.
I mean, we also don't have to make that decision right now, too. We have
But
another.
I'm happy to hear that. We cut down. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then we had a request to have a couple of trees looked at on Warren Street near the corner of Beach Street. And late today, we did get a quote from Bartlett to trim the trees. The trees have been assessed and they are healthy trees. But they do need some trimming from some dead limbs that are in those trees. And that quote is $2,240. So I would put the motion from somebody to have me sign the contract with them. So moved. Seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
It's
And-
on 2 trees, right?
2 trees.
Two trees.
Any other questions for DPW? Okay, thanks. Fire department?
We've done the water with them,
On this, so.
a little bit.
Start with the easy one.
What?
Start with the easy one.
The easy one, go ahead. Okay, so easy one, the phone system. We talked about that about a month and a half ago. Ted reviewed the contract, so he gave me the thumbs up. I'd like to go ahead and order the new phone system so that we can be implemented by February or so next year. Right now, it's slated to be about $100 more, but until we get into the fine tooth of everything, I think we're gonna be able to eliminate some phone lines and keep the cost the same. Because if it's $30 a phone, I eliminate 3 phones, I keep it right to where it is now. But until we get through going through the whole rollout of everything and the placements, and I don't know exactly, I went even phone for phone the way it is now, so. So I'd like to have you make a motion to.
So moved.
Seconded. Any other questions or discussions? This is to replace the phone system over there. And probably condense some of the locations.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is, I'd like to get permission to write 3 grants. First one's an easy one, it's a DC grant, we do it every year, it's a matching grant. It's up to $5,000, we have to match $2,500, they give us $2,500. It's not a guarantee, but it's through New York State. Generally, you can just get some forestry stuff or TPE supplies or something like that. So we try to write for it every year to see if we can get it for free. So that's the first one.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Second one's, we write these every year too. It's called an AFG grant. We write for equipment. Over the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, we've got over $1 million worth of equipment for the department. The Bull-X trailer, air packs, hose. We've got almost everything that we could wish for. We got turned down at the end of last year for our breathing air compressor in the building that's 22 years old now, so that's the next piece we're trying to replace. So I'd like permission to write that grant. I have a grant writer that does it, charges me $1,000. We budget for 3 grants every year, so this is just one of my budgeted grants, but I need to get permission to do it.
So moved. Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
This one's a little bit more. It's called a SAFER grant by the same federal government grant. It's for hiring 4 employees. The way the grant works is it's It's funded for 3 years. So they just closed last year's grants. Next year's won't start until June or July. It's a pretty labor intensive grant to write, but it's 100% covered by them for the first 3 years. Thought about doing it this year because the way our staffing levels are going. Siri. The way things are going, you never know when we're gonna have to do something. So I thought this would be a good way to try to get ahead of the curve a little bit. If we do get it, we'll get some people in here, get them trained, get them ready to go on shift. And we're covered for 3 years. So I'm looking to write it for 4 firefighter EMT positions. So,
Actually, this grant is being utilized by municipalities all over the place.
yeah.
City of Syracuse used it for a major grant of these, so I can't really.
They got 25 positions.
Exactly, so I propose to go forward. That's an option.
I'm totally in favor of doing this. I just would, if we're lucky enough to get it, we'd love to see us immediately then focus on how we can manage it so it's sustainable.
Well, that's gonna be, I mean. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're looking at $600,000. So from years 3 to 5. It's gonna be prorated, and then at the end of 5, it's all in the village / town. So it's there. Unfortunately, I think it's there anyway, the cost, maybe sooner if we didn't do this.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not
So-
saying we don't do it. I'm
Yeah.
saying let's do it, but let's do it with full preparation to go beyond 3 years.
But we have to keep them for, I think it's 7,
Okay.
so they have to be employed
Okay,
for
that's
7
good to
years
Right,
anyway. There's stipulations in the grant, we're gonna need them.
yeah, it's not an issue of need, it's an issue of
When?
affordability and planning for that.
Yeah, and when.
Yeah.
You know, so, I thought this was a good way to try and get ahead a little bit. If it works, great. Am I confident? I don't know. We're a small agency. I think a lot of the bigger agencies get them, but it's worth a shot.
So, just out of curiosity, what is the grant due, and when do you learn about whether you receive the grant?
So the grants do, I think it opens in February. And they generally give you 60 days to write it, and then they start awarding, whenever they feel like it. It'll be the next calendar budget year. So they just ended it, they awarded for 3 months. So I would say you would know by next August or September.
The start
you were-
in 26.
Yeah. So what you would, if you get awarded, so Syracuse got awarded in September, and they're hiring in January, that group. So, I mean, you have a year to start the grant. We probably would try to focus on when we could get into an academy, so that there's no lagging laying around and utilizing the money to its max. So,
Which agency is this through?
it's AFG, it's through FEMA.
And forgive me, I don't, okay, we would have funding for 3 years, but we need to keep the employees for 7.
Well, it's fully.
Fully funded for 3.
Then it's prorated for the next 2 years.
So it's 50-25.
So over 5 years, we would get some, we would get full and then we would get some, and then the last 2 years would be entirely on us.
So that's.
And I'll send the idea of this is because obviously some of the volunteers, basically, but volunteers have, some of that is changing the demographics.
So
that is changing.
The trending mode is, you know, it goes down, comes up a little bit, goes down, comes up a little bit, then goes down. It's not like going down and then coming back up. It comes up a little bit and then goes back down more, and then comes up a little bit and goes down. So that at some point in time, it's gonna get so low that we're gonna need these people.
In terms of volunteers,
Yeah.
you're talking about
Yeah.
training volunteers, and I do like the idea that it's prorated, because that gives us. I'm assuming the grant is intended to help out, get everybody on board, but give the agency, us, the municipality, time to figure out how we're going to make it sustainable
Yep.
from year 6 on.
And the good thing, I mean, this also buys us, I said this to Lori earlier, we got a lot of growth in the town's part of this. So that helps offset the town's portion of it probably more than anybody's. And, you know, who knows what our growth is here down the road, but if the grocery store ever goes or the more development comes in, you don't know, but you hope that there's more growth coming that will help tax base and help offset some of these costs.
So we have a motion, we have a second, or we have a motion, you have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you. I got word today, we should have an MOU from the town for codes. They kind of wanted us to do the safety inspections. The number I threw out there was adequate for them. They'd like to try to have it approved by our part by the end of the next board meeting. So I told them I needed at least a week for Ted to review the MOU to make sure it's acceptable. And then I'll get it to you guys so that you can review it, look at it. It'll be in draft form, so if we have problems or questions, we still have a little bit of time to go back and forth, but I think it's good, this will be good for the fire department to get in the buildings in the town for a change. We're truly running into a lot of problems in our high use facilities like Maple Downs. We got a big problem down there right now, the elevator's out of service. So we've got to have an extra rig go down there on every call, carry people down the stairs. So, and they're supposed to be self-sufficient residents and they're not. So we're trying to work in an avenue to force them to do something more. They're waiting for a part 4 to 6 weeks. So. So that MOU should be here, I would say, within the next week. I have 3 part-time hires on the EMS side. The first one is Tim Shane. He was a graduated ESM. He's a full-time firefighter in the city of Oswego. We'd like to bring him on as a part-time paramedic.
So.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
The next one is William McGuire. He's a graduate of the Upstate Paramedic Program. He's a full-time employee in Tully. Used to work at DeWitt, but he went to DeWitt from DeWitt to Tully. So I'd like to bring him on as a part-time paramedic.
So
Second.
we got one of the DeWitts. It's the opposite way.
But the other way,
What's going on here?
I don't know. Not asking any questions.
Okay, good.
So moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
And the next one is only an EMT, Matthew Durbridge. He's from Kirkland. And he's on Mohawk ambulance service right now as an EMT. So he will be at the EMT rate.
Moved, seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The last one is a spectrum or a striker lease. So about 4 months ago, we lost a Life Pack 15 defibrillator unit. We borrowed one from the county that they were gracious to give us. This is one of our old ones that we kind of wrote off. When it went bad, it went bad. We weren't going to worry about it. In the midst of all that, the state changed some protocols. We now have to have an external defibrillator unit with a screen and capnography.
So they volunteered to pay because they put that law?
The state, you go on a Saturday Night Live too, right? So, we met with our striker rep because we have that 360 program that we can refresh. We looked at adding this to our striker lease, and the lease would went up $29,000. So it went from 55 to 84,000. She gave us another quote for the same products that we need, and the lease is 24,000 a year because they do a interest-free leasing program they got going on, which includes all of our services on the equipment for the 5 years. So I would like to enter an agreement with Stryker for a Life Pack 35, a chest compression machine, and AEDs. If the total on everything is 122,000, it's 24,462 a year for 5 years. And I have 18,330 in my 0.2 account, and we're going to take 6,000 out of the 0.4 account to make it whole.
Motion to enter into this agreement, or you want to question it first, or then?
One second.
Moved to second, now second discussion, there questions? Okay, All in favor?
Thank you.
And then what about, sorry, on this, it's, this guy from the calendar year, is that just part of ours, or is he gotta do something on his end, or do we have to?
Number one, I think that.
I just put, because I didn't want to forget it. I can wait, I'm gonna wait anyway, probably till you talk
So
about
we
it.
do it, and then-
It's-
okay,
It's effects from that to me,
okay,
because there is effects.
right, no, I don't, and I didn't know which order we were supposed to do.
You know,
stuff,
I just
so-
put it on my list.
It's about, we're gonna talk later about changing the dates of our official year, January 1, December 31st. That affects their annual election.
The appointments of the annual meeting for the village, so. Okay. Anything else for the fire department? Or, yeah, from you, we got enough from you. Anybody else that doesn't want to spend money? Alright, next is the secret resolution, and this has to do with the senior center cottage and the grants that we have, and that's the big kind of thing.
Yeah, the board is familiar with the ongoing renovations at the senior center. Part of that project involves applying to the county for a grant under the community development block grant program. And so one of the items that the board needs to address through this process is addressing seeker. I've provided everybody with a packet. We'll skip from page 1 for the moment. Page 2 begins part 1 of the environmental assessment form. It simply identifies the village as the sponsor of this project, identifies its location, gives an overview of what's being done at the senior center. And a little bit about the property itself. Pages 2 and 3 are additional items relative to compliance with the village's comprehensive plan, zoning plan, whether or not we're aware of any environmental triggers that might be a matter of concern as the board evaluates it. The item of business for today is part 2 of the short environmental assessment form, which is in the middle of the packet. You see 11 questions on page 1 of part 2, and I'll just talk the board through these with respect to the renovation of the senior center cottage. Question number 1, will the proposed act create a material conflict with adopted land use or zoning regulations?
Can I interrupt you 1 second? Just so everybody, we already have the grant for this, was awarded to us. The seeker is part of it. We have to complete to get the contract from the county. So this is just for more renovations of the cottage itself, nothing new, nothing having to do with our 5-year plan or anything. So.
Well, we answer the questions, but I'll have to answer the question.
Yeah.
Whatever, so just a minute.
Yeah, so the issue here is, do we see any significant environmental impacts? Question 1, are we in synchronization with the plan with zoning regs? I think generally the answer would be yes, unless the board disagrees, so if you know what significant environmental impact there. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay, question 2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of the land?
No.
Question 3, would the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Question 4, would the proposed action have an impact on environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Question 5, traffic impact.
No.
Okay, question 6. Impacts with respect to energy consumption. Okay, question number 7. Would the proposed action impact public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment facilities?
No.
Question 8. Would the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Question number 9, will the proposed action result in adverse change to natural resources?
No.
Question 10, will the proposed action result in increased potential erosion, flooding, or drainage issues? In question 11, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Seeker determining there's no significant adverse effects that would need to be addressed before proceeding with this project.
I'm going to lead off this resolution for legal declaration.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Discussion.
Emailed or given tonight or emailed earlier today in regards, this was indicated earlier about moving on our official year from April first of each year to January first of each year, based upon the fact of our elections, our village elections being changed from.
I'm sorry, it automatically changes to December first based on the election being November. No, I just want to let, in case anybody's listening, and know.
Action on whether or not to adopt the local law.
So our next,
I don't want to talk about it now, but do we have a choice?
Yes.
yes, we can leave it December first. Or we can move it to January.
Right.
We don't have a choice of leaving it in April. It's good there.
Yes, it can't stay.
That's what I-
April. So we'll have 2 years now, we'll have the official year, which will no longer be April, it's going to be
Right.
December first to November 30th. That goes by way of the election, which is now November. So that's how the state law is there.
Correct.
We have that.
And again, anytime there is an election, so it just gives, instead of giving it from
More time.
November, the first week of November till December.
Sure that those elections are decided and certified.
My question is more, what actions, if any, does the board need to take during December to make this change?
Election or someone replaced them on the board, they would have till April first or whatever to be serving out their term, say. This gives a sitting person on this.
The month following the election, so.
It's part of the
I-
election law,
It's part of the election law,
not
yes.
part of the calendar year law.
No, it's part of the elect, for village elections. We hold the election in March and it's on the first Monday in April, in the month following the election at noon, it's time.
Okay,
It's, so if it's not, if the first falls on a Sunday, it doesn't happen on a Monday. You get it right.
okay.
Just wanting to make a point that having to improve the situation for more villages who are sticking to their
Huge. Because they'll still do want to May 31st. And why are we doing that? This is a question to the board. Why do we have an opportunity, the two? And also, if you keep it on the same budget schedule, newly elected people come in, they start budgeting, we would start planning that earlier. All
Right,
right.
if we had a fiscal year starting January first, like the town does, they're going through their budget, pass it by November, so a newly elected person on a village board, if we did that. And they start, or the town board, if they take office January first, it's already done, so you've missed that first year of being on. Whereas
And
what
that's
Lori just said, if you start in January first, you would work on our budget, which would be June.
There's two ways to look at it. You can say, oh, not me.
Because that's the situation that we ran out this before.
It's December 1. We're looking at the difference between December 1 and January 1. That's
Oh,
what sure. So they would still get the chance to, is no longer, that's just doesn't, it's not, it wouldn't apply anyway, the old.
It's
official
just a
year.
matter of logistics. Casey has something you'd like to say.
Actually, I think most of the points have been covered, but my personal experience was that I would have much been preferred to have several months before I needed to vote on the budget instead of 3 weeks after I was sworn in. And I said that at the time and I still believe that, so. Just saying.
Yeah, and that will automatically change when the election got changed in November, so this is just.
To entertain any questions that board members have regarding the community forest management plan. And Hi, Andrew.
Hi there, good afternoon, everyone.
Can you
Hang
hear
on.
you?
Yep, I can hear you. Are you able to hear me? Let me try adjusting my, hello, can you hear me?
Not as of yet. We can't hear you. Let's see here. I'm trying to try a different way to do this. Try that again. Andrew, can you?
Hello, hello.
There we go.
Can you-
That works better. Thank you. I appreciate your patience.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I am been working to put together some of these proposals for you for tree inventory and community.
Up in what we're trying to do and what they're trying to do. Many times I find we copy one another, and sometimes it's very good.
Your question?
I would agree.
Okay.
I mean, part of this is exactly that, trying to become more proactive in what we're trying to do rather than just be reactive. You're trying to, because that's what it's about. So my point really is, and I totally agree with that we should be doing this plan because we have to be looking for a future and trying to build to where we need to go. We're running around just trying to take care of problems. So we need, but there is still going to be some of that by the time we get done, because we have things like, we have so they're just getting us, they're being realized wherever we are in our community. And of course, we have the other thing with some invasives that we have to deal with as well. And things like that within our community is an important thing from my perspective, because overall, working with the health of our providing people with common effect of having trees really is amazing to people and what goes on. So it's really a very amazing to people and what goes on. So it's really a very interesting perspective to see that. So the interesting perspective to see that. So I'm very interested. So I'm thinking a little bit. Jenny, did you have something else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, a little bit different. We just got completed here in the village mitigation plan. And working with our code office. Storm, they're not a little bit. They're our biggest hazard is storm experience in understanding of locality or municipality's hazard mitigation plan. While you're putting together a management plan for the trees, it's that there should be stuff there, I think. Do you have experience with that, or do you have thoughts on that?
Yes, yes to both of those last two questions. We do have experience with that. What I will say though, more specifically is couch. We all understand that under certain, once a storm crosses a certain threshold in severity, even the healthiest of trees can fail, right? That being said, one of the ideas limit the likelihood of these types of things happening before the storm comes, and now there's a massive tree blocking the road, blocking access for emergency responders, those kinds of things. So it's again, the answer is yes to those, but those are two sort of separate documents. And as part of the management plan, we don't typically look at some of the larger, like the countywide hazard planning document you would talk about. We would under a master planning project, but the sort of driving force behind those two types of projects are different. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thanks.
I interpreted it this way, and it's also because I have a little bit more knowledge about the hazard mitigation. So pull that out and share it with them. If that section speaks to everything we mounting wires in a storm, that's a hazard, and we wanted to make sure that we identified that as a potential hazard in our village, because there may be some funding for our village to help cure that problem. And if we can help guide that information to the data.
And then it'll be uploaded to Cartograph, which is the system that we use currently. So that information will be readily available to you. If it comes back with, we have 85 trees that are at high risk, we can obviously prioritize those ones. Or so like the data field sheet that Casey sent out.
So bringing in that, well, I mean, the management plan is the second step to the tree inventory. The tree inventory brings in all that data.
Yep.
And then the management plan says, all right, we have this wonderful set of data, let's do something with it. How best will we, the data group will give us.
Work on grant writing. And Andrew, I was wondering if you might want to speak to the cycle that we're expecting in DEC. Because the management plan is something that they're looking for, not just the inventory, correct?
Correct. You have to have a management plan to be eligible for some of the, specifically the maintenance grants, the planting, pruning, those kinds of things, which in a way tie into the hazard mitigation that we were talking about. The idea is to reduce risk, right? And that's exactly what this does in a quite granular way.
Everything but severity is what I keep looking at and trying to find focus on. Because those are the things we can do things, we don't have to use large things all, once we get the management plan in place, we can chip away at doing things based on priorities of what's going on in order to create a better environment for us in order to withstand, those hazards that we deal with in the environment. And that's what we're dealing.
Our cooperative, this plan would be so critical for the volunteers, and we would be figuring out, under working closely with DPW, what steps we're gonna be taking. But this our trees cross over so many aspects of our administration, our trees cross over so many aspects of our administration, from the Parks Department to our Sustainability Committee. And Jane, I need these, always, but as a tree city for 23 years. So we need to rev up the system a bit. Appreciate that history so much.
Well, we've experienced some difficult times in our community because, there are problems with that. And also understanding we're not doing.
We move forward on the proposal to have the build a CFMP for us, using the resources that have already been identified by the mayor as in our tree budget. We have trees spread out in several aspects of the budget, but the $6,250.
In one sense, that we would do the management plan, so we have a better way to maintaining what we already have, and adding to what we already have, based on a plan rather than just a thought of we need something here, we want something there.
Clear agreement, it's the first time we'd be going through this, what that process is, and from what my understanding is that the town will be doing interviewing, and we'll come back to the police committee, and we meet again on October 23rd. We don't know exactly if it be one recommendation or two recommendations. So just wanted to let you know that was in the emergency crisis, such as mental health care, use of force training, community outreach, and patrol function. The current activity in the police department is up 39%. And some of the factors that they attribute to that is that in general, activity is up. The mental health calls are up. Leslie, I've explained that to Leslie and said I'm going to keep looking for another opportunity to get that.
Because and past experience, we have had some success and other communities have come in and said, so expert on that.
Okay. I will.
That's
Take it
always,
on that.
and there was something else from the state.
There, too, we have an agent as well. An awful pine, and it's planted.
Holding the one proposal we got. I'm gonna recommend, I'm gonna move that we accept all.
Sorry, didn't mean to like zero there, but slid towards you. And we, at the when it was discussed in a prior meeting, so.
Trusts that.
Just make sure you keep track of the ones that said they.
Sure, yeah, we have it right. Wait till spring, but hopefully not. We'll get
There will
on.
be frosted windows. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. And the next, we're also waiting on our specialty contractor to robust discussion on potential uses for this newly renovated. Is in need, period. We've had communication from
Any idea? There's nothing in any paperwork that Janet sent me.
Because if it's gonna happen, we repair. Something else breaks.
and like an operating plan, literally in place.
We have to figure out the local budget.
Well, of course, yeah.
That's exactly where we're going. So
There are other options out there as opposed to what, repair is fine. But I don't want to keep repairing.
no, I think you're right, Dan.
Keep repairing.
No, I think you're right, Dan. I mean, we repair this, but we try to keep our.
I don't know. No, but
You said, Dan, go ahead.
I got 2 or 3 short things. First of all, this weekend, Saturday at Green Lakes is Wicked Woods. The town, mainlands of Village Fayetteville and green lights are, run that thing. If you plan on going, make sure, I don't know, are we covering anything down there or not?
No.
It did seem one that I want to bring up at a board meeting. And there's a little beauty salon right here on Spring Street. Everybody should get the opportunity to look at it before. Snow. Right here, the first.
It was a little bit of hill.
Back here for the children to go to school, et cetera. So we have more activity. We have to really be careful when we're on the streets because
And we'll get to anybody else in just a minute. So we have, we had a town held their public hearing for the contracts that they enter into with the villages of Fayetteville, Manistee, and Manoa for fire protection out in that particular district outside of the village limits. So a contract was signed for the town Manistee to fund the.
Your voice was getting softer. I was having trouble hearing you too.
And, this is the contract that we signed to provide fire protection to the residents of the Fayetteville Fire District that live outside of the village of Fayetteville. Moved and seconded. Any other questions? Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do we have an existing map that shows the Fayetteville Fire District relative to?
I'd just like to point out that actually there were 3 board members there, but we did not do any action. We did not have any action with regard to it, except to say,
Talking about the tree lighting, which will be coming up, of course, the day after Thanksgiving, as traditionally is done. It involves obviously the fire department, the DPW. We do have a proposal from Lamplet Farm, who provides the wagon rides for us that evening. 4 teams of wagons at $1,400, and 4 teams of wagons at $1,400 piece. So total is $5,600, which would be paid for the celebrations, I believe.
Yeah.
Take a motion to moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? Historically, in the past, the Fire Association has provided some of that funding for us, but we have not approached them, nor they've approached us just yet. All in favor? The flag rights, flag rights, like. Okay, I did have a meeting with the police chief, this past week regarding, concerns that we had raised in the village regarding traffic and speed plans in place about, where they might put some of their digital speed trailer types of things that they have. Only one actually records, most of the data. Some are, I would say, more for show, but obviously slows people down when they see something that flashes their speed and things. So we talked about where they might be utilized and how the ones that do collect data, even ours at different places, that we could share with the police, obviously.
Do with the data. And if, I think what I heard you just say is that the police force has the capacity to themselves as a municipality and just say, hey, folks, calm down. We literally send out a message to them. So I'm a little unsure myself on what to do with the data that we collect.
Wasn't paid, but a police officer somewhere is watching the speed of traffic when it's kind of a slower time of the day or a different time of the day. So that's part of where that data can be collected. I noticed in the town, there's necessary about this over off the Draycott, they have some types of, looks like permanently installed.
So they're temporary also, they can be.
They can be, and we could look into something like that, which could be something a little bit more useful and more than one. I mean, we did buy one that's actually working and collecting data and things like that now.
Ours down if it's recording and theirs isn't.
I'll ask them, then
Okay.
we'll talk about it, but we may, if 2 of them are there and they're doing the same thing, we will, one of them,
Yeah.
whatever. Kind of, I'll say like quarterly, this obviously you have to get through the 3-month quarter and then we have to balance, both get the bank statements in and things like that, so maybe a little bit after a quarter, but there's a negative. And that is money that has to be just transferred. It was money that was spent out of, capital money has to be transferred into our actual year-to-year type of budget to balance.
Shouldn't even get that also.
Yeah.
Start sending out some stuff.
But it'll help
working
towards-
For budgeting.
Right, so we do want to start the budgeting process a little earlier.
Yes, budgeting purposes and worksheets and all that.
And this will help show where 100% spent already, even though we've only got a few months of the year. And then put budgets that. So
We did spend a lot out of the senior center account though, but that's gonna be grant money.
It is.
Your center account, I knew we were gone.
Anybody else have anything? So.
You are right.
I don't know if you guys have been told, but Route 5 is gonna be closed. They're doing that culvert pipe just past McDonald's. They wanted to close it for a whole weekend and not have access to the road. And they requested, I don't know when, they haven't told me. That's McDonald's.
No, I know where the,
They'll probably send them out,
no, I know where the,
they'll probably send them out road.
where the cars go,
Road.
where the cars go.
So mad and detour it somehow. Probably hydrate, so mad and detour it somehow. Probably hydrate around.
That,
They should, but
right,
again,
yeah, I
I
know.
don't know what kind of notice I'm even getting. I got the first call when I was on vacation. To say you want to close it down and rip everything out. I'm like, oh, we can't do that. I
Did they
need
notify the people on that road that they're gonna have massive amounts of pressure?
tape
Yeah,
and it's an emergency repair. So.
but that is for the water to flow
Yeah.
underneath it, yeah.
So it flows from Wellington House down behind Kohler. And then there's a wetland behind.
Guys, I'm working National Grid.
I was doing all the prep work for it now and then I'll get the equipment. They were hoping to have it done before November, but he's not sure.
That's the one, the
Dan, we need that grocery store.
The village now owns the property behind,
And what property is this? Behind this?
on Kennedy Street behind me, between Kennedy Street and the culvert.
Yeah.
Drain.
So if we deal with ash at all, usually it's with a certified arborist to come.
Well, exactly, we did, but, I was just curious if there's any plans for that area.
You two of you should probably go down and take a look at it again.
I don't know,